Welcome to MSUA Game Changers Live. I am so excited to be here today. We use this show to go ahead and talk to satellite and mobile connectivity thought leaders about new technologies, trends, and what you need to know about the future of satellite communications. I'm your host, Lisa Dreer, and I'm happy to introduce our guest for today, Steve Hailey. He is the Mission Critical Technology Business Development Lead at NIC4. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me.
Absolutely. Maybe we can start by having you just give a little bit of background on yourself and NIC4.
Sure. NIC4 is first I'll talk about the company. NIC4 is how we
Oh,
refer
sorry.
to. No problem. That's okay. It's NIC4, and it's a part of the Network Innovations Group, and it is really the government arm, if you will, of Network Innovations. And Network Innovations as a whole is a global company providing critical communications throughout the world. We in land, sea, and marine assets, so on. So, and then obviously our government side with NIC4, primarily in the DC and Tampa area, is where our offices are. And I'm actually out of Frederick, Maryland right now, and anything dealing with DoD, DHS, federal government, intel community, and that's where we find our sweet spot, if you will.
Great. And what about you? I know you have an amazing background.
Yeah, been fortunate enough to. I actually started out as a paramedic, a flight medic in Las Vegas years ago, and so I've been in public safety for over 30 years. I'm currently a firefighter today as well. And what I like to do is use my experience in the public safety realm and translate that over to build products and services that help people for our first responder community.
Wow,
So,
fantastic.
thank
Fantastic.
you.
So it sounds like you're not busy at all.
No, of course not. We're really busy, actually, which is, I guess that's a good thing, right? Good problem to have.
Absolutely. So let's jump into things. And maybe we can start by having you talk a little bit about what you feel is the most important role that satellite industry has to play in the future of mobile connectivity.
It's funny a lot of these different questions that you brought up. You've been doing a lot of thinking in a lot of these, and you know, I I think the number one thing that 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 I look at is what's the most important role is really interoperating with the current terrestrial network and the future terrestrial network, 5G and so on and so forth, whatever that may be. I think as we all know, we're finding all kinds of very interesting uses in satellite and satellite technologies with the different LEOs and MEOs and other things coming online. Phased array antennas, so on and so forth. I mean, is fantastic for people like first responders that we serve, and it's only going to do that even more. So I think the interoperability, if you will, mission critical, push to talk, so on and so forth. I think is really going to be it's going to increase the user mobility and accessing more data anywhere and everywhere that we go.
Sure. What do you see as the most significant changes, or I guess additional changes that we'll see over the next 3 to 5 years?
More bandwidth.
Yeah.
There's more bandwidth need, right? Um, more applications and things that are out there, and the satellite's capable of serving up the bandwidth that everybody's asking for, and you know, um, mission critical communications as well. I see that satellite, like our MSAT G2 product through NI and Legato, that product line has proven reliable, and it's been going on for many years, and it continues to be a mission critical asset to a lot of our agencies and organizations, and but see lots more of that coming, right? Um, you know, but again, it's more about bandwidth, and even with bandwidth, we've been looking at inter-satellite links, satellites communicating with each other and bridging that all the way back, through the chain to other ground earth stations, and transmitting the data back and forth that way, I think is really significant. And then last, I will want to say, application focused satellites, IoT, different things that are out there, and all of these are really helpful to our first responder community.
Sure. So when you talk about inter-satellite links like you were, what kind of important capabilities does that enable and what sort of use cases? I mean, it sounds like first responders, but how is that important for those first responders?
Well, I think what you're going to find is that, and I'm no satellite expert or, but I think that when you can have satellites intercommunicate with each other, then they can share that data and pass it down. And actually, the transport method is not terrestrial based at that point, right? So as you could transmit the data straight up to the from your terminal to the satellite, and then transport that through multiple satellites and not the terrestrial infrastructure. You're going to get faster speeds, lower latency, and an overall better customer experience.
That's great. Well, and also I would imagine when you're talking about first responders, sometimes the terrestrial network isn't available on the ground because
you're exactly right. Yeah. My background is in disaster and emergency response. I've been doing this for 25, 30 years now. I've done work for FEMA, United Nations, worked the Haiti earthquake. I've been over 100 disasters throughout the world, including 9/11, Katrina, and all of them. And, that's how I got into the satellite industry, because satellites really were the proven reliable, asset that we had in order to communicate and help people in need. So it was kind of a natural fit as I went over into that.
Yeah, I can imagine so. When you think about the satellite industry, one of the things that I think has been coming up quite a lot recently is this idea of having more of a standards approach. What's your perspective on that?
The call is right to move away from proprietary solutions and have some open standards, and we agree with that. Uh, you know, but our organization is looking at the 3GPP standards, even standards-based chipsets like NB-IoT, that's the narrowband IoT, LoRa, low power WAN, P25 radio standards, and how some of those can interact with satellite, with mission critical push to talk, and a lot of obviously FirstNet and things like that we're working on as well. And so it's really, we think standards based communications is really important, especially when you're dealing with interoperability between different agencies and organizations. And so we're very keen on that, and trying to do our best to follow it as much as we can.
Yeah, when we look at the industry, another thing that's happening is that there's just probably more shifts than we've ever seen historically. And commercialization of space, a lot of things are getting more cost effective, from launching to some of the ground equipment, so on and so forth. How do you feel that this is going to benefit users of satellite technology?
That's an easy one. More available bandwidth, right? I mean, that's really the bottom line. Um, more available bandwidth, but at a cheaper price. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really where I see that going. Yes, it's costing a lot to put these satellites up, and it remains to be seen kind of what the challenges are, obviously, with that. But more available bandwidth for less cost, and then, like I said, the application focused satellites will allow much more access to data and different kinds of data, if you will, because it's an
Mm-hmm.
IoT and application-based satellite, and also access to that data in far-reaching, underserved markets that really, don't have that capability today, and be able to optimize those for those use cases. So.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah.
see as some of the biggest challenges to delivering, a really solid commercial satellite service today?
I think really fully understanding the vast set of different technologies that's available in now and in the future coming online, right?
Hmm.
And looking at, what is the best options to meet our customer requirements, right? So you really have to stay in tune with, what's out there, what's coming, how it affects, your customer's current environment, whether it be land, mobile radio, satellite, data, general data requirements, so on and so forth. And I think that being able to look at all those variables, understand what's coming, and expect and try to really fully understand what's out there, what's available, and it's proven reliable because in our case, in the first responder community, that's key, right? So it's got to be proven reliable. It's got to start working right away, and just really understanding that. And I think that NIC4 will continue to cut through the complexity, if you will, and to help customers meet their mobility needs wherever they may need to go, and do that
Right.
both in data and in mission critical push to talk.
Yeah. So I think you were just kind of getting into this a little bit, but what are some of the other criteria that users should really be, I guess, putting in place as they're looking for satellite solutions and services that they will use to support their needs?
What kind of things users need to put in place? Well, they need to really sit down and understand what is their, what are nice to have and what are right, what's
Yeah.
nice to have and what is required, right? And really understand their own business and look deep within themselves. Okay, this is a nice to have capability, but this is really what we need to have. And whether that's just in our world, we're finding that mission critical push to talk is kind of the least, the you must have, right? And then everything above that um, is icing on the cake, if you will.
Hmm. Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. Are there, I think you kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, the new technologies that are coming into the market to support satellite communications. What what new technologies do you believe people really need to look at and consider as they're looking for satellite solutions and services?
Well, one of the projects that we have here at NIC4, I can't talk too much about it, but I can a little bit, is enterprise management and control. We're working of satellite constellations, and we're doing this in cooperation with Space Force. And essentially, what it is it's the whole flexible modem interface, being able to ensure that we have connectivity via whether it be commercial SATCOM or DoD SATCOM, and and be able to switch between them, back and forth depending on if you're in denied environment or not. And in the end, all it's doing is making sure that communication is going to get through, and that the boots on the ground are going to be able to communicate no matter what, anytime, anywhere, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Is help them do
Okay,
that.
so I'm going to ask you to put it on your prognosticator hat here. As you, I think, probably already know, MSUA is celebrating our 30th anniversary this year of representing the interests of the millions of satellite services users and providers in the world. And I really want you to kind of give your future view. What do you see as one prediction for the next 30 years of satellite communications and services?
One prediction for the next 30 years. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a tough one. You know, I'm of the opinion that I'm not surprised by anything. That's number one. Um, I come from the days using Inmarsat satellite A terminals, which were really huge, mobile satellite terminals, and with very, slow bandwidth going through them. And now we're seeing the likes of, other companies, and the throughputs of being astronomical, is really mind boggling to see that. Right.
Yeah.
And, 30 years from now, what do I see? I see leaps and bounds. We're going to see bandwidth that is way above than what we're seeing even now today. Think about it. I think that's a given that's coming. I think we're gonna be able to, direct satellites to do different things for us, and a lot more on demand. Like on demand satellite. We're already seeing that today. I think you're going to see more of that, and we're going to be communicating in a lot of different ways that I think we never imagined. And I think that's a good thing. But I think interoperability is key. Open standards is key, and we just need to keep everybody, moving forward, and helping each other out to make it work. So.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, I want to thank you so much for being here today and giving us a little background on NIC4, and as well as kind of giving us your insights on where things are headed.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone with MSUA. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments, or want to talk about satellite and mission critical communications.
Great. Well, thanks for being here. And also, I want to take a moment to thank the Mobile Satellite Users Association. To learn more about the MSUA, visit msua.org, and you can learn how to get our weekly newsletter, learn how to become a member, and also learn about our brand new Visionary Leadership Award that we are giving during the World Satellite Business Week in Paris in a couple of months. So be sure to visit msua.org, and we'll see you next time on MSUA's Game Changers Live.